We'll be talking about a monster film called The Lake. Somewhere inside the countryside of Thailand, a farmer is preparing to go fishing at night beside the nearby lake, while his neighbors are trying to catch the frogs that have been forced out by the heavy rain. Surprisingly, the people quickly manage to find a gigantic egg which appears to be moving from the inside, but what they don't realize is that a horrific creature is approaching towards their direction as well. Just when the humans are about to leave the lake, they quickly notice that something is wrong as a giant monster appears right in front of the people, while roaring furiously towards the farmers and causing everyone to scream in agony. This eventually alerted the wife of the farmer, who rushes towards the lake immediately to look for her husband, but only manages to find nothing remaining except for the man's raincoat as she stares hopelessly inside the mysterious water. Sometimes later, the local police have been alerted towards this tragic incident, while an experienced inspector called Detective James has decided to take over this unusual case. However, what the man didn't expect was to see the terrible wounds on the deceased bodies, which can only be caused by a massive animal, and the man thinks that the culprit must have eventually disappeared by using the water channels. At the same time, inside a nearby farm, a young girl called May is strolling alongside the lake with his brother Ken, but she quickly noticed something peculiar as she sees a giant footprint on the ground. What's even more, the girl eventually manages to find a massive egg in the swamp as well, and decides to take the object home to her family. Ken sees this and immediately praises the girl while he prepares to have the largest breakfast in his life. However, their elder sister Lynn tells them to throw away the egg right away as she fears the monstrosity that will eventually hatch from the inside. This causes May to run away from the people in anger as she drags the giant egg towards the lake while waiting for the creature to hatch from inside the shells. What the girl doesn't realize is that danger is already close by, as another lake monster is approaching her rapidly while devouring everything inside the water. At the same time, Lynn and her brother are looking for their younger sister everywhere inside the field, but when the people eventually make it beside the lake, they quickly notice that the girl's belongings are inside the water. This causes Ken to rush towards the lake immediately as he tries desperately to find his younger sister, but Lynn quickly realizes that something is wrong, while the lake monster attacks her brother furiously from behind. Luckily, Ken manages to escape from the water before he's killed by the giant creature, but the vicious monster quickly begins attacking all the farmers inside the field and causing everyone to run for their lives. However, the horrific animal is clearly too fast for the escaping humans as it throws away the people like flying rag dolls and devouring the victims like human pancakes. The people are forced to watch in absolute fear as the monster is killing everyone who's too slow to run away, but Ken eventually manages to escape with his sister inside a field of tall bushes. This allows the people to hide away from the approaching monster as the creature continues devouring the remaining farmers. But suddenly, Ken begins feeling an intense pain from his wounds as he starts having visions of the monster inside his brain. Luckily, Lynn manages to help her brother continue forwards as they eventually make it towards a public highway while managing to stop a driver who's passing through their location. This allows the people to eventually get onto the pickup truck as they finally manage to escape from this horrific place with their lives. However, what the people don't realize is that the monster's attack on humanity is not over yet, as it prepares to cause even more chaos inside a nearby city. At the same time, Lynn and her brother have eventually made it in front of the hospital while the doctors quickly begin tending towards the wounds on the people. Very soon, the police captain has received the news about the attack from his colleagues and quickly manages to locate the survivors, while Lynn begins describing the horrific incident which was caused by the lake monster who massacred all the farmers. However, despite Lynn's candid descriptions about what happened, the captain has a hard time believing her words and eventually decides to head back towards the police station like nothing happened. What the people don't realize is that the horrific monster has already moved inside the population center and begins hunting all the humans like prey, while causing complete chaos inside the streets as the people run desperately away from the giant creature. This terrible attack is eventually reported to Detective James, which causes him to rush immediately towards the town center, but everything is already too late as he witnesses numerous lifeless bodies lying on the ground. With no other choice, the police department is finally forced to accept the monster's existence after so many casualties inside their city, and the captain thinks that the creature is using the lake to hide away from the humans after the attacks. As a result, the man orders all his people to split into two different teams as they plan to capture the monster no matter the cost. However, before the detective can move out with his teammates, he quickly receives another bad news from his colleagues, which forces the man to rush towards the nearby high school immediately. It turns out that James has a misbehaving daughter called Pam, who always causes trouble inside the school, and the man is forced to take the girl right away inside his vehicle, while he tries to catch up to the other police officers. At the same time, Lynn is watching over her unconscious brother inside the hospital, while Ken is having a terrible nightmare as he tries to fight the lake monster inside his dream. Surprisingly, the man eventually manages to wake up to reality while giving his sister a glimmer of hope once again, but Ken quickly realizes that he has somehow lost his ability to speak after being severely wounded by the creature. What's even worse, Lynn notices that her brother's behavior has completely changed as well, as the man seems to always be contemplating about something inside his mind. However, what she doesn't realize is that Ken is quickly undergoing extreme physical changes as well, as he begins hallucinating about the lake monster inside the bathroom. Surprisingly, this also seems to have given the man a psychic connection towards the creature that attacked the farmers, as Ken begins seeing through the monster's eyes while the animal continues killing all the innocent victims. This causes the man to rush outside immediately as he begins writing on the paper right away, while informing his sister that he knows the monster's exact location. At the same time, the police captain has arrived towards the population center to finally capture the vicious creature. However, what they didn't expect was to see the female survivor rushing towards them with urgency, while claiming that her brother can lead them towards the vicious animal right now. The people eventually decides to follow the woman's brother as they slowly maneuver towards the empty neighborhood, but Ken quickly begins sensing that the monster is hiding inside a nearby building. This allows the man to alert the humans to the creature's location, while the people begin using their bombs on the monster and causing massive explosions as a result. However, this only makes the animal even more angry as it quickly begins attacking the humans while tossing them away like flying insects. Luckily, the people eventually manage to surround the monster from all sides as they start striking the creature by using their weapons and binding the animal inside their nets. Surprisingly, as the monster starts sustaining more damages from the humans, Ken begins suffering from the attacks as well, and the sister immediately realizes that her brother is somehow connected to the hideous creature. This causes the woman to rush towards the people right away, as she begs the officers to stop hitting the animal and claiming that it's killing her brother as well. The police captain sees that the man has been wounded exactly like the vicious creature and has no choice but to lock up the monster inside his vehicle while ordering his men to guard over the animal from the angry mobs. However, the villagers have no intentions of letting the monster survive as they begin surrounding the police officers in great numbers and demanding for the creature's death while putting Ken's life in danger as well. At the same time, James has arrived alongside his colleagues towards the other side of the lake, and they quickly manage to find a giant egg by the shore. What's even more, the detective also notices the massive footprints that are left behind by the monster, which means that the creature must be close by. Before the man can figure out what to do next, he's also notified by one of the officers that they managed to find a survivor near the lake as well, and it's quickly revealed that the person is actually Ken's younger sister who went missing. James is mystified by how the girl can survive for so long while possessing the monster's egg, but eventually decides to go back inside his car, where he begins lecturing his rebellious daughter. However, what the people don't realize is that the other officers have noticed something horrific inside the lake, which is quickly revealed to be a building-sized monster. Very soon, James begins hearing gunshots from the outside and immediately rushes towards his friends to find out what's happening, but only to see large bloodstains on the cars. Luckily, the man eventually finds the only surviving officer hiding inside the trunk, but before the people can talk, the detective quickly notices a massive tail maneuvering across the field, while the giant lake monster emerges behind the vehicle and causing James to hide immediately in fear. However, the man quickly realizes that his daughter is still inside his car and decides to use the radio to tell the woman to hide away from the approaching monster. Things become even worse as the egg inside the car is beginning to vibrate, while the giant creature is being attracted towards the vehicle by the scent of its child. Very soon, the monster slowly appears beside the car window, which causes Pam to scream in fear at the sight of this horrific creature, while the giant animal quickly notices the egg that was stolen from its nest. This causes the lake monster to strike the vehicle continuously as it tries to take back its offspring, while the people are rendered completely helpless inside the car. James sees that his daughter is in terrible danger and rushes forwards immediately to save the woman by shooting numerous rounds towards the giant creature. However, this only causes the animal to become even more angry as it slams its tail towards the detective and forcing the man to run the other way, while eventually jumping inside the water as a result. The other officer sees this and tries to help his friend by dragging out a large oxygen tank, while the giant monster is being preoccupied with trying to retrieve its offspring inside the car. Very soon, the monster begins attacking the vehicle once again, and eventually managing to break through the windows while causing the people to scream in agony. Luckily, just before the humans are killed, the police officer manages to throw the oxygen tank towards the giant creature before shooting the container and causing a huge explosion in the process. However, the man is shocked to see that his attack was not effective at all, while the monster roars furiously towards the officer and forcing the human to quickly retreat in fear. This allows the massive animal to turn towards Pam once again as it manages to break down the vehicle's door and finally retrieving the egg from inside the car before taking away its offspring by using its jaws. Pam sees this and decides to run away from the vehicle right away, but when the woman eventually reaches the outside, she quickly realizes that the monster has been waiting for her this whole time. The creature quickly approaches the helpless woman and launches its massive claws on top of Pam before roaring furiously towards the human. James sees this and immediately rushes out from inside the water as he tries to save his only child by shooting towards the nearby oxygen tank. This causes a massive explosion in front of the giant monster while forcing it to release the woman, but the enemy quickly begins turning its attention towards the detective as it roars furiously towards the man's face. Surprisingly, instead of killing the detective immediately, the creature begins hearing the agonizing scream from the other monster that was captured and eventually decides to spare the officer before rushing towards the city right away. This allows James to run towards his daughter as he tries to carry her away from this location and taking her directly towards the nearest hospital. However, before the people can make it inside the town center, James realizes that his daughter is bleeding out very quickly from her numerous wounds, and the girl eventually